explique-lhes Álvaro Moncayo, de representativo ALANAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For me, this 5 days meeting of the different sections of the organization represented in this around the table, Executive Committee of IAMP, the workshop on non-communicable diseases, and this panel had discussed, all of three of us have discussed two things: similarities in disease patterns in Latin America, and the fact that ALANAM, which represents 14 academies of medicine of Latin American countries. When these Latin American countries mean Spanish-speaking countries, there is a barrier to integrate these Spanish-speaking countries with the Caribbean, for instance, or with a global association like IAMP. The day-to-day management of ALANAM, we always face this difficulty. However, there are points that should be strengthened and explored for a better relationship between ALANAM and IAMP. One of these points is the fact that so far there have not been any efforts to request the recognition of ALANAM as a regional office within IAM. This will happen only, and this has to be recognized by the efforts made by Joe and myself to bring these organizations together formally. We will attend the next meeting of the Executive Committee of ALANAM in Madrid. There, I hope that it will formalize. There are difficulties in the future for strengthening these relationships, and those deal with, for the National Academies of Medicine, these difficulties are essentially budgetary. ALANAM, IAMP are poor, whereas IANAS and the Academies of Science are rich. And if not, ask Juan about the budget that they have. The third point is that the international multilateral organizations are poor, were very poor, and they don't have any budget for either ALANAM through PAHO or IAM through WHO. There is a tendency now to request funds to private organizations like Gates Foundation, as mentioned by Joe. And Robert Gates is ready to offer whatever amount of dollars for his own visibility in the world. In this respect, probably the person to address this point is Juan. In Mexico, they have another rich man, richer than Bill Gates, who is willing to have this Carlos Slim. And in my country, you remember that Valentin Fuster yesterday mentioned the experience that they have is advancing in Colombia. Why? Because Julio Mario Santo Domingo, a billionaire of Colombia, gave him $5 million to start his program. The government of Colombia has not given a penny for that program, but Julio Mario did. So there are tendencies that appear as coming up, and we have to approach the rich persons, the old engines, and not the poor international institutions. I think that I have given an overview of how I feel we could advance for improving collaboration between our organizations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alvaro. Next speaker is Juan Pedro Laclette, representative of IANAS.
Thank you, Professor Krieger. I don't know what else to say. First of all, because you have already said basically what I would like to say. But secondly, because I had prepared this PowerPoint presentation, and I cannot use it now. So what can I say after my this group of very distinguished speakers before myself? I'm glad to be back to Rio. This is a wonderful location. I thank again the partnership of the Brazilian Academy of Sciences and of the National Academy of Medicine in Brazil. I think their organization has been perfect. And academies are also intercommunicated. They have constructed these networks. As Joe Boufford mentioned, there is a network for the Academies of Sciences, AIP. There is another network for the Academies of Medicine, AIMP. And they have they have worked through different strategies. AIP decided that one way to approach the local problems was through the organization of regional networks. So AIP divided the world in 4 regions. And there is a network for Africa, a network for Asia, a network for Europe, and a network for the Americas. IANAS is the network of the Academies of Sciences for the American continent. What is the virtue of this approach? We were talking about evidence-based recommendations. Okay, what I can tell you is about our own experience. These regional networks work very well. Why? Because we are close to the problems. We are close to the users. We can talk often, and we can identify common goals, common problems. So the first thing I would like to stress that was already mentioned by Eduardo Krieger is the conveniency of the regional organization. How does IANAS work? We have identified 5 major goals that are shared with our big umbrella organization, with the AIP. So we have what we call programs. Our programs are, from the very beginning of the work of IANAS, science education. We want to intervene for the improvement of the rational thinking in primary school education. You know, our countries in Latin America have a wonderful magical thinking, but our kids, our children, have a very limited capability for reasoning, for reasoning on the outside evidence. Our program is directed to improve the quality of the science education in the Americas. And our program is now working on 17 countries. This is very easy to say, but it's been a lot of work. 17 countries in the continent. And each country has its own peculiarities. I mean, the education system of Mexico is very different to the education system in Brazil or Cuba or Dominican Republic or Bolivia or Peru. So there is a general model, but then there are specific models that are applied to each country. How do we work? We have a couple of co-chairs for each program, and then we have what we call a focal point from each National Academy of Sciences, which means that we have one for Brazil, one for Guatemala, one for Panama, and so on. But the thing is that the focal point has to have the vocation to work on the program, because to put in practice the program is going to require a lot of effort. So you really need people that is convinced that is going to deliver part of his professional life for this program. And this is the profile of the people that we have in our program. Those crazy guys go spend their weekends working with the teachers of the primary schools and sharing experiences and teaching how to think more rationally, how to improve their teaching. We also have programs on water. Water is going to be a crucial resource for the future, and we have to think about the shape of the future related to water. We already have a diagnostic of the hydric resources in the American continent. The program works the same. We have 2 co-chairs, and then we have the focal points from each of the academy. We have another program on energy. Again, oil is going to end very soon, maybe 20, 30, 40 years. And what are we going to do after that? We need to start thinking on how are we move into the current way of producing energy based majorly on oil, on fossil fuel, into a new way of using renewable sources of energy. And another program is Women for Science, gender equity. We need women not only because women are half of the population. We need women because they see the world in a different way, and they are going to enrich our vision. So gender equity in the scientific work is also a very important issue. And the profile of this work, of this program, is what we call an horizontal program. The Women for Science program has to permeate to the rest of the program.